SCHD has had a really bad performance so far in 2024 and it's only up by 4%. But things are maybe about to get even worse for SCHD. And they have just completed their annual reconstitution and the results are shocking to say the least. And for those of you who don't know, then a reconstitution refers to updating the composition of an ETF, and for SCHD, then this is done on an annual basis. And funds are usually making small changes to their small positions and a few tweaks here and there. But SCHD, they have made some major changes and they have changed their top holdings. And almost a quarter of SCHD stocks were eliminated. And that is 23 out of 100 stocks in total that is being removed from the fund. And that is absolutely insane. So let's just get straight into it. And right here is a list of all of the funds that were eliminated from SCHD. And we are going to be taking a look at all of those that I do think is very questionable. And then we're going to be taking a look at all of the funds that were added to SCHD. But let's start with all of the stocks that were removed. And one of the most noticeable one is definitely Broadcom. That made up 4.83% of their entire portfolio. And Broadcom was a really good performing stock for SCHD. And also one with a really nice dividend growth of more than 17%. And another big one that was removed is Merck, that made up 4.76% of the entire portfolio. And this was another very good performing stock for SCHD that also paid out a really nice dividend. And then we also have ADP that made up 3.1% of the entire fund, Blackstone that made up 2.75% of the entire fund, and ITW that made up 2.11% of the entire fund. And to be completely honest, then I don't understand why they decided to remove these stocks from the portfolio. And looking at the performance of all of these 5 stocks compared to SCHD, then we do see that every single one of them has outperformed SCHD over the last year. And when changing SCHD with the S&P 500, then we also see that 2 of these stocks have even outperformed the S&P 500. And looking at the entire list of stocks that they have removed, then we also find other great companies like 3M, Allstate, Tyson Foods and so on. I personally feel like they removed some great stocks from SCHD and I don't really understand why they did that. But let's just have a look at what they added to the fund. Maybe that helps explain it a little bit. So SCHD has added just as many stocks as they removed. So they have added 23 new holdings. And that is great because you really don't want to see the total amount of holdings going below 100. And here is the full list of companies that were added. And even though I don't like the changes, then I must admit there are some good companies on this list as well. Like Bristol Myers, Hershey's, Skyworks. But the rest of the list is basically companies that I'm not too familiar with. But these were basically all of the additions to the fund. So now when SCHD has thrown some stocks out of their portfolio and put some new ones in, then let's just have a look at their top 10 holdings before and after. And the only additions to the top 10 is going to be PepsiCo and Pfizer, which already were in the fund before, but they have increased their position in these 2 stocks. And I do like that change. And then we have Broadcom and Merck that is now out of the fund. There is not yet any information about the weighting of the new holdings. So this list here might change a bit during the coming weeks. But all of this does raise the question, how does this impact SCHD and us as investors? And I personally don't really like the changes that they've made. But the changes have had a positive impact on the dividend yield that has increased just a little bit. But that increase does also come at a cost. And I think the cost of that is basically going to be the return. And I do fear that the performance of SCHD is going to be a bit lower going forward. And I personally don't like that they have changed their exposure to the technology sector that used to account for 12% of their entire portfolio, but now is only 8%. I think that is way too low. And I think that having that low of an exposure to the technology sector could have a negative impact on the total return for SCHD. Obviously then I can't say anything for sure yet. We have to wait and see. But it is going to be very interesting to see how SCHD is going to perform going forward. That was all I had in today's video. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, then don't forget to press the like button below and subscribe to my channel for more weekly videos just like this. See you guys in the next one.